run off and left my glasses, so y'all have to just deal with the old man thing.
Is that thing on?
Can you not hear me?
That's close enough.
Look, last time I done this, I don't know what y'all could see on the outside, but on the inside, I was a nervous wreck. It just made me so nervous, and I thought I was gonna forget something, you know, and I got to thinking about it. If we went back and started in Genesis again, we missed some stuff, and so.
It's just us.
It is, and I don't want to. I'm not y'all guys' teacher. I'm just up here leading. If it's up to me, we'd be all at the big round table back here and discuss it. We're just gonna have a good, nice study, and if I miss something or y'all don't agree with it, we'll just yell out and we'll try to get it straight. Okay? Y'all bow your heads, I believe. Lord, thanks so much for the opportunity to be here. Lord, help us to study your word and to learn it, Lord. Anything I say, Lord, please let it be your will, your direction, Lord. We want the Holy Spirit to help us read the Bible and understand it as it's written, Lord. We don't have to be any smarter than what you created us to be. These things we ask in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen, brother.
You might move that mic a little closer.
Now, Gary, you might have to move a little closer.
Well, I'm thinking about her. She
All right, then. We'll be nice to her. All right, we're on 13. I'll read the first one since I hardly ever read. If y'all ever wonder why I don't read a lot in church, my eyes and my brain and my mouth don't all line up. They got a fancy name for it, and I read further than my mouth says I'm reading, and my brain don't know the difference. I don't know how it works, but I'm poor at it.
I wonder what you. I gotta say.
Yeah, at school they had a fancy name for that. Besides stupid, it was something else. And,
I just call it focusing. I can't follow a line.
yeah, I'll say words that ain't even there because I'm already ahead. And they used to give us a little practice lesson, but that took effort, and I didn't want to do that. So here I am, old and still can't read out loud very well. All right, we're going to start in 13. Then the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, "Consecrate to me all the firstborns, whatever opens the womb among the children of Israel, both of man and beast, it is mine." So he's saying he wants the firstborn. Why do you think he wants the firstborn? And in a minute he's going to get on down a little bit deeper into what he's expecting.
Payment for the ones he saved in Egypt.
I think so. I think that's part of it, is that he had wiped out all the Egypt's firstborn, and he's redeeming. But I think the good Lord wants the first of everything from us. Yeah. I think I messed up too as a parent to telling my children, you know, be sure to say your prayers before you go to bed, because really, if you think about it, that's your leftover time. I'm not watching TV no more. My day's over. I'm not working. I go to bed, and I say a prayer. And there's nothing wrong with that. You're being thankful for what you got that day. But really and truly, it is leftover time. It's time that you're not doing anything else. I think good Lord wants us to have all the time. First thing in the morning, Lord, help me make it through this day. Yeah. At dinner, Lord, thank you for this lunch I had, and I've done made it half a day. Thank you for that. And right on up till we go to bed. Good Lord wants us to be first.
He wants us to pray for what's ahead of us.
That's exactly right.
Not what's behind us. He
wants us to be thinking about him all the time. And I think he took the firstborn, he'd give his firstborn in that sense, and the children of Israel he calls his firstborn. But I think it's a real good key here that God wants our very first thing. He wants the best that we have. And my best may not be as good as your best, but it's the best. You know, I used to wonder when little children come up and be saved, you know, and they just hadn't done enough in life yet. It made me always wonder, but you know what God wants is everything you got. Right. And if a 10-year-old kid's giving everything he's got, that's all God's happy. That's just as good as me being 54 and giving everything I got. That's what he expects from us.
I went last week and we were reading that, and it's saying he's taken the firstborn. My baby, I lost my first child, my baby girl. She was 2 weeks old. 2 weeks old, and I thought then he took my firstborn.
Right.
But I'll get her back.
Yeah, that's right. And I do wonder, and I don't know the answer to this. Y'all may, and I'm probably jumping ahead because after a little bit it's going to say wants the firstborn male child. Me and Donna was talking about that. Does that mean if you had 3 daughters and then a male, is that the firstborn male child? Is that the way y'all see it, or does it mean when your firstborn is a male child? How do you read that? Because I'm not sure.
I believe there's a deeper story to that, brother.
There is.
Let me say this about that. The firstborn was generally led into the priesthood.
That's right.
This was before the Levites were determined to be the tribe of the priests. But this was the firstborn was to be, the first male was to be the priest. And even to this day, the Hebrews, Jewish people, have to pay for their son not to be a priest. As we speak, they pay $5 silver
Yep.
to keep their son from being in the priesthood.
We're jumping ahead a little bit.
I am, but
Yeah.
that's what this firstborn
I
started
think-
before the Levite tribe.
I think that is when we read just a little further and it says redeem, the word redeem.
Right.
And I think, and I am getting ahead, we need to stop and read a little bit more, but from what I read is that in this day, when you redeemed your firstborn, the Levites, the money, silver and gold, you give to the Levi people to support the ministry.
Right.
That's how they redeemed it.
Right.
But we ain't really got there yet.
Firstborn was priest.
Someone read, if you don't mind, 3 through 10. I run off and left my glasses at home.
I'll read that for you. 3 through 10.
Yes, ma'am.
And Moses said to the people, remember this day in which you went out of Egypt, out of the house of bondage, for by strength of hand the Lord brought you out of this place. No leavened bread shall be eaten. On this day you are going out in the month Abib. And it shall be, when the Lord brings you into the land of the Canaanites, and the Hittites, and the Amorites, and the Hittites, and the Jebusites, which he swore to your fathers to give you, a land flowing with milk and honey, that you shall keep this service in this month. 7 days you shall eat unleavened bread, and on the 7th day there shall be a feast to the Lord. Unleavened bread shall be eaten 7 days, and no leavened bread shall be seen among you, nor shall leaven be seen among you in all your quarters. And you shall tell your son in that day, saying, this is done because of what the Lord did for me when I came up from Egypt. It shall be as a sign to you on your hand, and as a memorial between your eyes, that the Lord's law may be in your mouth. For with a strong hand the Lord has brought you out of Egypt. You shall therefore keep this ordinance in its season from year to year.
All right. So Moses is saying, don't forget this. Whatever you do, don't forget this. Now I think there's an extra reason. It's a reason that he passed it on for generation to generation, that they have the Passover and they do the 7 and the unleavened. He wants it to be remembered a lot. Do you think he wants these children of these people to absolutely remember every detail of it?
I think so.
And I said that because I think we don't know it yet. They don't know it yet. These people ain't going to make the promised land. Just the children are. So I think it's important that they carry this on for generation to generation. No doubt. That's what he says, from year to year to year. But I think he wanted to drill it into these children because God already knows these children are the ones that's going to go into the promised land, not the adults. God already sees that and already knows that. Y'all agree with that? What is 7? Y'all know, we kind of remember what 7 means in the Bible. Anytime the word 7 is it means complete. So he's saying, let's have us a feast. We're going to suffer for a while and we're going to feast again. And God's kind of like that, ain't he? He gives us good times. He expects us to suffer a little bit. And he expects us to be happy at the end for his account. Y'all see that any different? Now there's symbolism about the unleavened bread. But I think most of the symbolism is that it was done in haste, that they didn't wait on the bread to rise, and he wants them to remember what a haste it was. So when he's sitting around in the easy chair one day, relaxing, And they still do this today. They have a Passover, it's a full blown out deal.
I've noticed several restaurants now serving a really, really flat bread with their meals and stuff. Could that be unleavened bread? Is that,
It is.
I think
they're
it's
calling it pita bread, I think?
Pita is unleavened.
That's what it is? Oh, I just wondered when I saw it the first time, I wonder if that's what,
Yeah, you know, when I worked for Noble Energy, a company, we had a bunch of stuff in Israel, and man, you don't want to go over during the Passover because they shut down. And I don't mean like Sunday you can't go to Walmart kind of shut down. I mean they shut the doors on the place. And
Really?
we even planned our flights. The airports are shut down. Through those 7 days, you can just forget doing any kind of maneuvering or working or getting a motel or anything over there. I never got to go. I wish now I would have. But they do still take that very, very serious.
I thought it was odd that it said they couldn't even have any leaven
In
in
the
their
house.
quarters, not even in the house.
Yeah, even in the house. And it's to show the importance. And Don and I was talking about this the other day, and a friend of ours, he started his kids out. If I could go back and do different with my kids, one of the things I would do would be Christmas. I would do Christmas different. I would probably hold Santa Claus out of the whole thing. Now I hate to be one of them people who don't like Halloween and don't like this and that, but on a holiday that's that important to draw it one smidget of the focus to something else is really not right.
that's a good point.
A friend of ours, he raised his youngins, and he started that way. You can't change in the middle because you'll have a mutiny on the ship there. But he gave them three presents, and that's the way they did it their whole lives. And he gave them something they wanted, something they need, and something to read. And he said 3 gifts was brought to Jesus, and that was good enough for him. That'd be good enough for their kids. And I think there's a lot to that. At first, I thought he's a cruel old daddy. You know, you ought to do better with your kids than that. But after thinking, then. Easter is being, such a big point. How in the world we get a rabbit in there?
It's all commercial now, that's all.
It is, and I'm not against kids going out. I went out and hunted eggs, and my kids went out and hunted eggs, and that's okay. But you really need to make sure that your children understand the difference. And we miss that opportunity, but we'll grab them grandkids in a minute and say, let me tell you what now. This is how they should be. And I think this is what God's telling us right here. Don't lose our focus on what He wants us to remember. And it's easy to do. And today's, they do it. Our TV commercials, you got to smell like this, and you got to have your hair curled over here like this. And, well, I listen to them on that part. But publicity is crazy. News media, everything is points towards Santa.
Everything is so commercialized, and you don't even get through Christmas till you start seeing Valentine's stuff.
Oh, that's right. Just straight up.
Then it's St. Patrick's Day. It's just
They got Christmas stuff out at Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
before the turkey even has his day.
And I've heard pastors and preachers, I'm glad Brother Gary thinks like he does on that thing. They just, if y'all let your kids do Halloween, you're going straight to hell. And I don't agree with that. But I do think God's holiday type thing, we all need to spend more time focusing on what this is and make a kid understand. I've seen a thing on the TV where they sung Happy Birthday, every Christmas, and the family got together. And that's what it ought to be about. That's the kind of thing. And I think that's what God's trying to drive home here is don't forget what I did. I took lives, I don't know how many the firstborn of Egypt would have been, but I'm sure he killed a slew of people, and he did it just for these people here, and he didn't want them to forget it. I think we should. That's a good example for us on that.
I was talking to a gentleman a couple of days ago, and he's talking about coming to this church, but he explained all about how the Easter and Christmas and all that came through the Catholic Church and putting two religions together or something like that, and being pagan. And I really don't have a problem with the kids doing that, but like you said, like Easter, the kids don't really know what that means, you know.
Yeah.
And hunting Easter eggs and we had a guy here one time in our adult class one time. We had Easter decorations on the lid. He slammed them across the table and said, "This is pagan," you know. And see, there's no sense in that. But there's no harm, I don't think, in decorating for Easter or having an Easter egg hunt for the kids, because it gives them something to be excited about. And to get them to want to come up here. And then, of course, Christmas, we, Vicky's family, we always gathered at her mother's house, you know. One of her cousins, they were, what was it, Jehovah's Witness. Well, that little girl would look like this, and she's seen everybody else getting presents and having a good time, and we felt sorry for her, you know, because she couldn't have no present. She couldn't celebrate Christmas. And so, you know, Christmas is what it is in this country. You know, it's over. Now it's gotten where it's just buying gifts and stuff like that. But and I don't really see where there's a harm in that, except we are supposed to put
Well,
Christ
it
first.
has to do with being a holiday
Right.
or being Christmas. And they definitely don't want us to say Christmas anymore, the majority. Or the majority of the ones that speak out loud anyway. All right, if you skip on over to 9, me and Donna put a little study in this. She's my sidekick there, and I'm going to have to ask her how to say a few words. But verse 9 it says, "And this shall be a sign unto your hand, and as a memorial between your eyes, that the Lord's law may be in your mouth, for which the strong hand the Lord has brought you out of Egypt. You shall therefore keep the ordinance from season to season, from year to year." Now, what does that mean when he says between your eyes and on your hand? What does that tell you? Because I'm going to tell you, I've read the Bible a little bit, and I have never in here seen where it says, I think God would have put it at the very first of the Bible, it says you have to have a master's degree to understand my word. He just don't say it like that. But just layman time, what does that, what does that mean to you? Because to me it means between your eyes, that's your brain, put it in your head. I want you to remember this, put it in your head. And my hands, that's what I work with, that's where my product comes from. These people the same way, they had to use their hand and then their mouth, and that's what I get out of it as just an old dummy layman type person. But I was reading, they have a word for these. They took this on, these Jewish people, and they built these little boxes called phylacteries. And these little square boxes, and they hung off their hats, and inside them they put prayers. And they had little rings around their wrists, and they had little prayers in there. And I was in Matthew 23:5, y'all can read it, but Jesus fusses at them real bad about that. He said, y'all act religious, but you don't do religious stuff. And you worry about how big your hat is, basically how pretty you look up there like a Christian, but you're not doing what I want you to be. So they took something from a simple, to me it seems real simple. I want you to remember this, I want you to think about it, and I want your future work to reflect on this. And they decide, well, I'm going to be a little bit better than you. I'm going to build a little leather box. And I looked, you can buy them on Amazon to this day. They're called phylacteries. Begins with a P. And a little wrist. And they put Bible verses in them. And then there's certain eligible people that can put different Bible verses. So if you're a real high priest, you can move on up to Deuteronomy, maybe, I guess is how it works. But they do have a list of verses they was putting there, and they carried it all the way to this level to thinking they were getting closer to God. And Jesus comes along and says, y'all missing the boat here. So I don't want to miss that boat. I want to be sure that I get this right. And like I said, I don't think good Lord made us have masters in theology to get all this stuff straight. And I think He gave us good old common sense to say, I want this between your eyes. And if you go right there between my eyes, it'd be my brain, what's left of it. And my hands to work for the good Lord. I had never had one of them phylacteries. They don't look very cute either. They're just a little ugly box, and I don't believe I could have it dangling in my face all day like that. But I want to mention that. That's where they come. All right. Would somebody read again, because I'm a terrible reader, remember that part?
Yep.
From 11 through 16. And this is where Brother AD is talking about some more of our children, our firstborn. Anybody,
I'll do it.
don't make me read it.
I'll do it. You said 11 through 16?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And it shall be when the Lord shall bring thee into the land of the Canaanites, as he sware unto thee, and to thy fathers, and it shall be given to thee, or give it to thee. Thou shalt set apart unto the Lord all that openeth the matrix, and every firstling that comes out of the beast, which thou hast. The male shall be the Lord's. And every firstling of an ass thou shalt redeem it with a lamb. And if thou wilt not redeem it, then thou shalt break his neck. And all the firstborn of man among thy children shall thou redeem. And it shall be when thy son asketh thee in time to come, saying, What is this? That thou shalt say unto him, By strength of the hand the Lord brought us out of Egypt, from the house of bondage. And it came to pass, when Pharaoh would hardly let us go, that the Lord slew all the firstborn in the land of Egypt, both the firstborn of man and the firstborn of beast. Therefore I sacrifice to the Lord all that openeth the matrix, being males, but all the firstborn of my children I redeem. And it shall be for a token upon thine hand, and for frontlets between thy eyes. For by strength of the hand the Lord brought us forth out of Egypt. So he starts out with he's going to fulfill a promise, right? He said, I told you, God told us up front that he told Israel that they would own this place. They was going to be the land of the Canaanites and she read them what to go all in tights. And he's confirming that. He told Abraham, I'm going to give it to you. He just didn't tell him it would be 400 years from then, but this is the time. So he's really redeeming a promise there. And then we kind of get into the firstborns like you were talking about and the reasons for them. And there's a difference in consecrating and redeeming. So he said if they have a donkey, you know why they didn't like donkeys?
Yeah.
Besides they're hard-headed, me and Donna had some donkeys, they're not fun little animals at all, but they were considered unclean.
There are two stories that actually a dual story. The donkeys were considered unfit for sacrifice.
Right.
Plus, they were a beast of burden, and they used them to work with. So they had to sacrifice a lamb in place of the donkey. And if they didn't volunteer to sacrifice a lamb, they had to kill the donkey.
Yeah.
Kill the donkey, you got no work animal. So they made sure they gave them a lamb.
Right.
In
Right.
place.
They were workers, and they wanted something pure, a pure lamb,
Right.
the first year. But I thought that was neat. He says, look,
I did.
if you don't give it to me, you ain't gonna have it either. that kind of thing. But the firstborn of man, and that's where the redeemed part comes in. And later on, in Deuteronomy, I believe, is when they start actually paying. You can redeem them with money,
Right.
and the money would go to the Levites. Because the Levites now, they didn't have a land. They wouldn't like the other tribes. They were scattered amongst the other 12 tribes, and they were all priests. So.
Let me say this while you're talking about that. To redeem a child from the priesthood required $5 silver. And the reason it was so low is because even the poor people could afford to do it.
Right.
They didn't make it so high in 1,000 pounds or
For
shekels or whatever they used. They didn't make it so high that people couldn't do it,
Right.
and made it low enough to where even poor people could do it if they wanted to. I thought that was very interesting.
And I think the big draw from it is that he wants you first. And I understand that He's not saying sacrifice. Now, Abraham was fixing to sacrifice. He's fixing to do it. And there's another, I got on one of the commentaries, there was another false god they had out there that they actually, he required firstborn sacrifices, and he meant sacrifice. What he means is, I want them to be mine. I want you to give me your firstborn. Because like Brother A.D. said, back then the job of the firstborn was to run the household completely. It was his job to see that his father was buried right. He had to run his affairs after that. There weren't no will. Firstborn got it, and if he decided the secondborn needed a little bit, he would give it to him. There weren't no, I'm going to give it to this one or that one like it is now. Your firstborn carried a lot of weight, but the mainest thing back then was your firstborn was the preacher of your household. Now, a household, me and Donna's four. The household of some of these people would be 20 or 30. It could be huge, and their slaves were included under their guidance as a household. But the big takeaway is God wants our first. And I know I don't always give the first like I wished I would. We had tax day yesterday, okay? So I run a little small business on my own, and so I really never know what my income is that all year long until I get to the end of the year, because I got expenses and trucks and office, I got all this other stuff. So I guess all through this until the very end of the year. And then the big sign, the big number comes up, what I lived on or not. And so I look back to see if I'm tithing too much or too less, right? So I could drop down on my tithe a little bit, but it would scare me to death to do that because I didn't know what my income was, but I lived without that for that bit of time. And I think that's why it is a big deal in Timothy when he says tithe first.
Yeah,
Be your first.
tithes.
If you're going to suffer, miss your night out at McDonald's or don't get that extra Diet Coke over yonder to wherever you get one, give God his and you live on what's left. And if you're not careful, it's easy to do backwards. Well, I'm a little low this week, Lord. I'm just going to put 10 in here instead of a 20 spot. And it happens to us. And money's easy for it to happen to you because it definitely is the root of all evil. Y'all disagree? Agree?
Yeah, amen.
And again, it goes back into the frontlet of your eyes, your mind, in between your eyes. He wants you to be thinking about this in your hand. All right. Anything I say about that? I'm sure I'm missing some really good stuff in there because it is in depth, and I got to going in circles and circles until it got so confusing. I said, I can't teach something like that or talk about something like that. We would be down with a pencil and paper.
You know, Brother Troy, talking about the tithing part, I saw a video the other day, and it was a pastor preaching about tithing, that we shouldn't only just give our money, but we should give our time and everything that he gives us. 10% of it, he said, that God spoke to him and said that we have 24 hours in a day, and that you should give back 2 hours and 40 minutes of in his presence, reading his word and constantly being in prayer. He said, sometimes we make up excuses talking about we don't have time to do or we don't have this, but in reality, we can go home and watch a 2-hour, 40-minute Netflix series, but you can't read your word.
That's right.
And I was like, wow.
I guarantee you, your most valuable thing, and I'm finding this as I get older and older, is not your money, it's your time. Because you can't replace it. Now, when I thought I was a big shot and working and had a lot going on in big companies, my time was valuable. It was valuable. And if you wasted part of my time that day, I'd get a little upset with you because I didn't have a bunch of it to spare. I had flying all over the country, and it would really upset me if you wasted a whole bunch of time. I don't think like that no more. I'm pretty relaxed and stuff now. But time is a valuable resource, and God wants that time. And it's our job, and it's our duty to set a little time aside for that.
Amen.
And it does take a little bit of it actually takes a whole lot. It takes an effort. It takes
Discipline.
It takes you wanting to do it because if you say I'm gonna sit down from this time to this time and I'm gonna praise God for what He's done for me or ask His blessings, or I'm just gonna spend a long time with God, whatever your choice is, you need to be disciplined at that. I heard a preacher one time, he said something always stuck in my head. He said, He said, it don't take discipline to get up and go to work in the morning. Everybody's got to get up and go to work in the morning. It takes discipline to go to bed early so you feel like getting up in the morning. That's where your discipline comes in, and I think that's why it's so important to give God as much time as we can. And that doesn't mean all praying. Sometimes that means going out and doing what He wants you to. It means like Brother Randy does, getting involved in something like the Gideons or getting involved in church. I mean, I don't like to be up here all the way. It makes me nervous up here, okay? But it was asked of you, and I think it's what you should do. It's time.
It's a good deal.
And time's hard to come by.
Well, that's like my daughter, she has backsliding. She wasn't going to church. And she said, Mother, I ain't got time. I said, Angela. I said, you do. I said, you give your time to the Lord, and He'll make all the time you need.
That's
She's
true.
back in church, or she's been back in church for a while now. But she got in too strong. I said, don't get over your head.
Yeah.
Anyway, but she's still just going and doing and everything for the
It
church.
just happens when you do that, and
Get back.
and no one can really tell you. You know, it's the same thing with the money. If you give money to God, you just get it back. And I don't know if I mean cash. I mean you just get it back. I've been blessed so much. It'd be a shame for me to complain about anything.
Thank you.
I have found that when I try to tithe, I always wind up having more. But if you add up my expenses from the first of the month till the end, I never have that much money.
Right.
But it always seems to come.
Always make it, don't you?
And, you know, a lot of people here think I'm nuts, but I have found that my most precious time to pray is when I'm literally sitting in my doghouse in the middle of the floor watching my dog have puppies, because that's what God's given me back
Yeah.
to make the money that I have to give. And it's, well, you know, when you're watching something being born, I don't care what it is, that's a gift from God. I don't care whether it's a kid or
Yes, ma'am.
mice that you're going to kill tomorrow, but it's still something precious in God's eyes.
I agree. And we all got personal ways that we talk to God. It may be going to work, coming from work, but we just need to be careful that it's not just leftover time.
Yeah.
It's like, I ain't doing nothing, commercial's on, I'll pray real quick. God don't want that. He wants you first. Turn that movie off, turn that Super Bowl off, come to church, whatever it takes. And it don't have to be church.
Yeah.
I've seen God in the hayfield before, you know. He's everywhere.
I seen God come to me in a bar. So
Absolutely.
I mean, He's everywhere.
That's right.
You just got to take time to look for Him.
Yes, ma'am. I agree.
I think it was one of those church bulletins, something like that, signs, that had a simple sign up there and said, I can't afford not to tithe.
Yeah, and I don't mean to make it about. I'm not making it about tithes. I just know that was my last thing to go. Okay, I'll give you all this other stuff, but my budget and all my little numbers on my little zippy pad there did not have tithe. Wouldn't fit.
God,
When Donna and I first started tithing, I said, this ain't ever gonna work. We gonna have to lose something, you know. We don't really need a car, we buy a donkey. But it works. It does. And what I'm saying, it needs to be first.
Yeah.
If that's where it's painful at. And if it's your time that's most painful, it ought to be first. And if it's getting up here and talking in front of people, and that's gonna promote God, then that ought to be first. All right. We're going to move on to the wilderness. So would someone read 17 to the rest of the chapter?
I'll do it for you. And it came to pass, when Pharaoh had let the people go, that God led them not through the way of the land of the Philistines, although that was near. For God said, lest peradventure the people repent when they see war, and they return to Egypt. But God led the people about through the ways of the wilderness of the Red Sea. And the children of Israel went up harnessed out of the land of Egypt. And Moses took the bones of Joseph with him. For he had straitly sworn the children of Israel, saying, God will surely visit you, and you shall carry up my bones away hence with you. And they took their journey from Succoth and encamped in Etham, in the edge of the wilderness. And the Lord went before them by day in a pillar of a cloud to lead them the way, and by night in a pillar of fire to give them light, to go by day and night. He took not away the pillar of the cloud by day, nor the pillar of fire by night from before the people.
Oh, that's something there, ain't it?
You know, brother, that cloud and fire also, you're not talking about 15, 20 people.
Boy, you're not.
Brother, you're talking about a cloud
Yeah.
and a fire.
And they said, the translation on that was, one of them was a column. So it was
Right.
a big old huge column of fire. That had, I would love to sing that, you know, that's a loving God right there.
You know, my study Bible says, although we don't have the cloud and the pillar of fire per se, this is our
Yeah.
day and night pillar of fire, pillar of cloud and pillar of fire. This right here.
Yeah. That's,
Even though we don't have the cloud and the fire to lead us.
we have a lot more, don't we?
Yeah.
Why do you think he didn't? I mean, I think it's a lot to learn here, and I don't know if I can put it all together. But why do you think he just didn't go in a straight line? So they're here, and here's the Red Sea, and here's Philistine, and he went. He kind of wandered and angled through these little towns. If you look at it on a big old map, he didn't even follow like this. He went like wandered around like this. So why do you think God didn't just go through the Philistine and just smite him? God ever do y'all like to do us like that sometime? I know he does me. Won't you use your common sense for a little bit as well? But he had another hidden motive behind that.
Well, my Bible says that he's afraid if they got involved in war, that they might want to turn back and go to Egypt.
Right.
And I think that's right. I mean, these are, you know, and these are slaves. These people have been whipped down, beat down. They're not just your average proud American.
It's not an army. They're not prepared.
They're not near an army, but even mentally, they're not. They've had, you know, you read about y'all guys seen it and stuff, but World War II through Vietnam, through all of that, they did a lot of psychological stuff, and to make people think less of themselves or think they're going to give up on them. And I've read about it. I never seen it, but they worked hard to try to make you think your wife was gone and she didn't love you no more, and anything they could do to get you to give up. These people have been through this, and not only did they go through that, but they've already watched all these 10 plagues come by. I mean, they're not just walking around proud, upstanding citizens. They've been born a slave for their whole lives. Their grandpappies were slaves, and his granddaddies were slaves.
430 years.
Yeah. So to fight an army,
They wouldn't know how to fight.
sir,
They wouldn't know how to fight.
they wouldn't know how to fight. These are farmers, you know, cattle ranchers and stuff like that.
They had no weapons.
Could
From
it
there-
also be that when they go through all these different ways, the different people that they're coming in contact with, you know, that maybe need to see a picture of God too?
Yeah.
You know, like, because, you know, Paul, you go, well, why did he have to go to jail? Because, you know, he wouldn't have reached those
Right.
rulers and diplomats and stuff
That's
just staying where he was. So, I mean, just a question.
Another reason, I don't know if we'll get that far into it, but one of the good reasons is because they look like they lost. They look like a bunch of dummies wandering around out there in the desert. They followed Moses, and I'm sure when the Pharisees in a little while pulls up behind him, he goes, these people are never be an army. I'm just going to go in there and wipe them out. They just wandering around out there. And in a minute, we're going to see he backs them right up to a no-win situation. Hey, what kind of military leader must Moses be to lead 2 million people up against a wall, a sea on one side, mountains on the other? So I think a little bit of that in there. I know we're jumping ahead a little bit, but some of it was just plain old God showing out a little bit. I think, you know, he's gonna get them. But you're right. No way they could have won under their condition.
And don't you think that maybe God's carried around and kind of letting them wander around? They know they don't know what to do, to where he can show them, look, I can take care of you.
Yeah.
It's
And
not
I
a
think
blessing for them.
I think he's definitely going to show them when they do get plumb against the wall. But yeah, I think you're absolutely right. Someone had something on Facebook, and I don't know if it's accurate or not, but it told what it would take a day to feed this kind of people, and just the amount of water and stuff they would drink, and it's unbelievable. I mean,
Take
that's a lot.
trainloads of wood
Yeah.
to furnish the fires
In a desert, yeah.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. I mean, God was definitely there. And he does those things.
That's something, brother, that comes to my mind every time we talk about one of these miracles, that people let it slip away that God was doing this. It wasn't the people.
That's right.
They couldn't do any better than what they were doing, but God was in there, so anything possible.
That's right. And they're following God. They're not following Moses. Moses is following these columns of night and day, this clouds and fire. So God's leading them through there, and he's just kind of wandering around out there. But it's for a reason. And it's for a reason for Egypt to see, and I think it's mostly a reason for Israel.
A lot of the reasons comes the way the people were acting. You know, worshiping false gods and different things.
Yeah. Yeah, these are
Just the right time. He was
perfect. Yeah,
leading
perfect.
around
All
there, and
perfect.
it take the time that he had set for whatever, you know.
Yeah. All comes together. We're gonna get into 14 a little bit and mess Randy up. We still got a little while. He does need time. Would someone read 1 to just 2:5 through 4, I guess. 1 through 4.
I'll read it. And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, that they turn and encamp before Pilharah, between Migdol, maybe I shouldn't read this, and the city, over against Baal-Zephon, before it shall ye encamp by the sea. For Pharaoh will say of the children of Israel, They are entangled in the land, the wilderness hath shut them in. And I will harden Pharaoh's heart, and he shall follow after them, and I will be honored upon Pharaoh and upon all his host, that the Egyptians may know that I am the Lord. And they did so.
So he's kind of telling them there, look, I'm setting a trap. I'm setting a trap for them. They're going to look out there and see them winding around, but they don't understand. They don't know what the trap is yet.
I think it's sometimes even like that in our lives. You know, a lot of times we'll find ourselves wondering through things. We don't really know the main objective until after we've went through all the wondering.
That's right.
And we look back on it and go, now I understand why. You know, I wandered through this dryness of this desert, or why the Lord took me down this rough road when I could have took the interstate.
Yeah.
But there was a reason why, because there's a man on the side of the road you had to pick up, carry, get bread or milk or whatever. I mean, we don't know why. But
And what's so neat about our God is it's individual, right? He's showing us how he's doing a nation, but with the Holy Spirit, he individually sends us down the road. And what may be my weakness may not be your weakness. I may not need to work on that the area of my life you do. You know, and God knows that personally. And he does. He makes us wander down these roads, and you're thinking, man, I could have went right here just like that, but that wasn't the way it's supposed to be. You know, it's like that little Garth Brooks song, Thank God for Unanswered Prayers. Boy, I can thank him for a bunch of them. It would have made a mess of my life several times had I got what I asked for deservingly. You know.
That's where that 20/20 hindsight comes into play. We look for something and we think that's what we need, and then in retrospect, we can look back and see, thank you, Lord, you didn't give me that.
Yeah, thank you so much. And I didn't get that answer.
Be careful what you pray for.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. And then he says, then I will harden Pharaoh's heart so that they will pursue them. Now, ain't that something how God would harden? I mean, the 10 plagues wasn't enough. And my daddy, he always had, I don't bring up my daddy in church a lot. Most things he said and done, I wouldn't say a word about it in church. But we had a big old shop, and every weekend he had some kind of something on the side going on. Most time it was welding, building vessels, and whatever happened to come up. If y'all didn't know, when you weld something that's got pressure on it, you got 3 strings in it, right? You got a stringer bead, and you have a filler bead, and you have a cap over the top of it. Well, my job was to brush that off, deflux that thing, make sure it was clean. And I'm talking about, this is my daddy I'm working for, and he was tough.
You had the hard part.
I had the hard part.
Yeah.
Well, you're supposed to end at the cap, that's it. And my father would always make one more pass over that thing. Well, what that does is that builds that weld up there that high, and what my job on the last finishing thing was to grind it back down smooth, and there shouldn't be a crack nowhere in it unpainted. And when he'd weld that 4th ring around there, that made my grinding day miserable. I'd worked myself to death. And I asked him one time, I said, Dad, why in the world do you do that? Even the books say, well, 3 passes is good enough, you don't have to do that. He said, them 3's for who we're working for, that last pass is for me. If it breaks somewhere, it ain't gonna break where I welded it at. You get to weld it. And I think that's what God's doing right here. He says, look, I'm fixing to put the icing on the cake right here. I'm going to show all of you. I'm fixing to take some lives with me. And this is that last bead on that 4th bead. Did it need to be there? I don't know, but God knowed it did, and he wanted to show it. I think that's why he hardened his heart. I think he wants Israel to see it as well. And that's our kind of God.
That's what I was thinking, Troy. They done seen 10 plagues. They've done seen the results of them. But this is to show me.
This is it.
This is it. Now, you done seen all of this. Now you fix to see the main picture show right now.
That's right.
This is who I am.
And a little bit of the difference that we see here, I think, Mr. Boss, is that before the Israelites really wasn't in danger. God kept them completely out of it.
Yeah.
But this time, to the Israelites' eyes, they're in danger. They're fixing to be
right now.
They fixing to see that I can be damaged in this. Before, they've been kind of watching what's going on and following Moses' instructions. But in their eyes, they're in a complete no-win. They're fixing to be in a no-win situation that nobody but God can get you out of. And it's not even thinkable. I mean, if you were out there, it wouldn't be something that, crossed your mind. It'd be like, well, I wish I could get across this creek and an asteroid falls out of the sky. It's just not something we would think. Mm-hmm. And that's how they felt when they got backed up here. It's God. But I think putting them in a bind this time, I think that's the icing, mostly for Israel. Yeah. And he does say to show Pharaoh as well, fake Pharaoh. I'm getting close, ain't I? I'm trying to mess Randy up so bad. All right, let's go on and read 5 through 9. Please.
I'll read it. Now it was told the king of Egypt, Now it was told the king of Egypt that the people had fled, and the heart of the Pharaoh and his servants was turned against the people. And they said, why have we done this, that we have let Israel go from serving us? So he made ready his chariot and took his people with him. Also he took 600 choice chariots and all the chariots of Egypt with captains, one for every one of them. And the Lord hardened the heart of the Pharaoh, king of Egypt, and he pursued the children of Israel. And the children of Israel went out with boldness. So the Egyptians pursued them, all the horses and chariots of the Pharaoh, his horsemen and his army, and overtook them camping by the seaside. Fell Hathor before Bala Savon.
Right.
That's a hard word.
That's a hard word. You got me on that one too. So the people start saying, don't they? It's kind of like when Donna's gone, I kind of think she don't do as much as she ought to, but when she's gone and I have to do everything around the house, I realize, and I kind of feel like that's probably how they thought. Man, we didn't let these slaves go. I'm having to wash my own clothes. You know, I'm having to feed my own cows. I think that's when they cried, what did we let these guys go for? Now I can't understand after 10 plagues of what they just went through. It's hard to imagine they couldn't get it. I think I'd wash my own clothes for a little bit longer because they, according to what I read, they've only been gone about a week now. I don't know if you can prove that or not, but that's what the commentary said, about a week. So they've been gone at least 7 days, and here we are whining about it. And God, sure enough, hardened Pharaoh's heart. He gathered up all his, I'm sure they were getting a little short on horses and animals because we done plagued them out pretty good there. But he took his choice one, his very best one, and takes off after him. His heart was turned against him.
The Lord was working a lot of angles, wasn't he?
God is working all the time, and we never even see it, you know. He took 600 choice chariots from Egypt and captains over each one of them.
Well, in my other Bible, it said there was two people in each chariot of the 600. One was the captain, and the other was the fighter.
Fighter, yeah.
That kind of confused me when I got.
I've been trying to visualize that in my mind, poor little old mind. If you stop and think of 600 vehicles,
Yeah.
that's just a lot. That's a lot of.
You hear the sound of it too. I mean, you know,
Wow.
yeah. Just the sound of it
Yeah.
coming at you would be pretty terrifying. So he pursues them. And what happens? Let's read on to 10. 10 through, this Bible don't have those numbers where they ought to be, and it messes me up every time.
10 to 12.
Yes, sir.
And when Pharaoh drew near, the children of Israel lifted their eyes, and behold, the Egyptians marched after them. So they were very afraid, and the children of Israel cried out to the Lord. Then they said to Moses, because there were no graves in Egypt, I have you taken us away to die in the wilderness. Why have you so dealt with us to bring us up out of Egypt? Is this not the word that we told you in Egypt, saying, let us alone that we may serve the Egyptians? For it would have been better for us to serve the Egyptians than that we should die in the wilderness.
So they get scared and they start crying out to the Lord, which is right. It's just what you should do when you're in a bind. But then they kind of start complaining a little bit. And I'm going to tell you something now.
He knew that's what they were going to do.
I knew what they're going to do, and they continue to do that. And it bothers me to no end. And I've been studying on this for a couple of weeks on this whining these Israelites do. And when I grew up, you really wasn't allowed to complain a whole lot. Daddy would just not put up with something like that.
Maybe once.
Yeah, you just didn't complain, and it bothers me that I don't want to be like that. And I wonder all the time, and like I said, this has been on my mind for a while now, that how I would have acted out there and what would have made me different than them. And I'm not no preacher now, but I just want to share with y'all something I looked up and I think I have overlooked in the Bible before, and I want to make sure y'all see it like I do. So in Matthew 17, it's Matthew 17:20. And everybody's read this, and we've read it 100 times, and it says, because of your unbelief, for surely I say to you, if you have the faith of a mustard seed, you will say to this mountain, move, and it'll move. And we've all read that 100 times. And what is that? What do you think when you hear that? Because that's what these children of Israel lacked, was faith. They done got in a bind here and they think they just lack faith and God's going to deliver them out of there. So in my mind, when I read that, I've always thought you just need this much faith. That's all you need. And so surely, we should have that much faith, and these people here should have had that much faith too, at least this much. It's a little mustard seed is like this. Now this is for free. I'm not going to charge you extra. Okay. So I was reading about, because that mustard seed's kind of bothered me too, because I want to have at least that much faith. And so I read earlier in 13, verse 32. And this is what it says. The kingdom of heaven is like a mustard seed, which a man took and sowed in the fields, which indeed is the least of the seeds, but when it's grown, it is greater than all the herbs and becomes a tree, so that the birds of the air come and nest in its branches. So this little bitty mustard seed, and I think, now this is Troy, I think Jesus is trying to tell us something else here. I think he's trying to tell us it's what's in that mustard seed. It's this big, and I looked it up, and it's got a bunch of Latin words that I can't pronounce to y'all, but it's got everything inside that little tiny wee seed to make this giant tree. So I don't think it's just, I think God's telling us that it is the smallness of it, but I think God's telling us too, it's what's in it. It's what's in that little bitty tiny seed, that worthless little seed, that's going to make this giant tree. And I think the difference in us, and I hope me, and these whining Israelites as we go, that they whine more and more, is that what's in us, what we have the ability to receive that they haven't, is the Holy Spirit. The Holy Spirit visits people in the Old Testament, and He does teach them and tell them things, but in us, inside of us, God says we have the Holy Spirit. And so it's hard, after we go through here and we see, for me it was hard to imagine that people that sing these 10 plagues could doubt God that much. That surely they would have the faith of a mustard seed. And I don't think it's the smallness that's only the important thing there. I think that it's also what's inside that mustard seed. It's got everything in it that every other seed has.
They're looking at His power every day with that column of fire and column of smoke.
Yeah.
They're seeing it. They know it's there.
They know it's there, but they lose faith over and over and over. They lose faith. And I'm just trying to think of an excuse why I wouldn't do what they do. And we're going to read about more and more that they do. And I think my excuse is Jesus. I think He left us with something inside that gives us the ability to take that mustard seed to
Well,
a
how
tree.
much faith do you think Noah had?
No, he had a lot of faith, but
He had to have a lot of faith.
he had a lot of faith, but God chose him directly. But yes, he has faith, and I'm not saying they don't have faith. I'm saying that as a nation they didn't have faith.
And they may have had the faith at the beginning.
Well,
But then a few starts over here talking and they're discontent, and then it just goes like wildfire through everyone.
Well, that's the thing. He brought them over, and they had so much different ideas about everything. And I think this period of time, wandering around and all that, God was trying to make an impression on them, and then of course He wanted to make an impression on the Egyptians of who was in charge. And so I think they were probably, like she's talking about, a lot of squabbling about, while they wander around out there wondering why He brought them over there just to be wandering around and get killed or whatever, die. And I think, that the Lord was trying to make His impression on those people in this period.
I think He's fixing to make a big one.
Well, that's all I got, guys. I sure do appreciate y'all letting me do that. I know I ran just a little bit over, and I sure didn't want to get on the preaching side of it. I just wanted to share with you what
That's
I
a good
thought
lesson, bro.
You've gone over 3 minutes.
on that part. I'm not bad now, not too bad.
You've done a good job.
Randy, would you mind closing us?
I will. Lord, we just come to you now, Lord, we just thank you and pray for the time we've had here, Lord, the word that's been spoken here, Lord, the teaching that Brother Troy put out, Lord, we just thank you for that so much, Lord. Thank you for him being willing just to step up whenever there was a need, Lord. Lord, just pray that you take care of us, Lord, this week. We have safe travels to and from where we go. We pray for Pastor Gary and Anita as they're out having vacation, Lord, they'll have a good time. It's not to be too caught up in the coronavirus stuff and all that mess, Lord. Just let them just be able to relax and just have a good time, Lord. Lord, pray for our church here, Lord. You just lift it up, Lord, and keep us all close to you, Lord. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Amen, brother.
That's Troy, you did a real good job.
She's talking to you, Miss Dick.
Thank you, brother.
Well, thank you.
Hope I didn't interrupt you too much.
No, me at all.